Ladies and gentlemen, I represent a company called Eschan Group. I think we are the oldest publishers in the country, and for last 3 years we have gone in terms of launching two new companies. One is on K-12 space in terms of multimedia content, and the other one we just launched 2 days back here is simulation-based learning material for engineering colleges. I'm just giving you this background to understand my thought process and from where I come. I am a mechanical engineer, practiced in industry for last 25 years, and after that moved to education-related projects for last 5 years. One of the reasons for me to take this shift was I have seen the best practices, I have implemented them, I have run companies. But somewhere right from my first day in my first job, there were certain questions which remained unanswered. I joined as a graduate engineer trainee in Tata Motors at their Pune plant, and the very first day as an engineer when I went to the shop floor and I was given my assignment and the place where I was to work, I didn't know where I was totally lost. And it was not only with me, but with everyone who was in that batch. Because whatever we learned in our engineering education, number one, it was not enough. Number two, it was not real life. And number three, we were never taught any kind of application. And then, over the years, by experience, by talking to people, you learn it. Second thing, in my refrigeration and air conditioning class in engineering college, when we were told how a refrigerator and air conditioner work, that was never clear in my mind. Very recently, I would say about 4 years back, attending an exhibition in Germany, I found that all the German corporates, largely in engineering, have gone into some kind of e-learning or e-communication. And it was not because of any choice given to them. It was basically because of the circumstances, because anytime you come out with a new model of any product, you need to communicate it to the field, you need to reach your service staff, and seeing that the cost of training people was so high that they had to come out with the solutions which could be either sent in a CD form and later on through internet. And everything was kind of exposed to the students, to the service people. Now, if we look at ICT, I feel that ICT in a way is a misnomer because we communicate with various educators, we talk to them. And the moment you talk about ICT, the first basic hurdle is that you are talking about computers. A person is scared of computers. I would not say it is 100% true as of now, but still I have gone to various engineering colleges in Hyderabad. And when I talk about ICT, there is a first barrier that there is a computer. Then you talk about communication. The second barrier is, okay, everything is fine, but the bandwidth, the internet connectivity, all these are major issues. Then you talk about technology, then people are confused because you are asking them to do additional work. If we look at an educator, and I think we have a lot of esteemed educators present, I think for an educator, information was always a source of their livelihood because they had information always available to them. If you look in terms of communication, yes, they were always communicating. And if you look in terms of technology, they have always used technology in various forms. So what I feel is that today, first of all, there is so much available from various companies. In terms of hardware, you would have devices of every kind. If you look in terms of softwares, if you look in terms of learning management systems, everything is available there. But the biggest challenge today is that ICT, which was supposed to be I would say, giving that relief to an educator, giving that, I would say, kind of a solution to an educator to not to do repetitive work, that is not gone. So today, if you look at ICT, it is being taken as an additional work and additional load. Now let me look at it, say, from a very different perspective, because I'm not going to tell you what I sell and what I do. What I'm saying is that if you walk down these stalls here, you would find a lot of people coming out with interactive hardware. And what does that interactive hardware do for you? It's basically something which I would say any institution would like to have, that you have an interactive whiteboard or you have a plain simple whiteboard and an interactive device, put onto a computer, you go and give your lecture, and at the end of that day, you capture your lecture and store it on your computer. So next time, next class, next year when you go, you have a lecture which you did last year. Only thing what you need to do is to add updated information on that. So you don't need to go and start with the same method that, okay, I am going to teach this, number one. Coming down to softwares. Softwares are available in various forms. People who have developed content. Software is also available in forms where people can sit down and make their own kind of learning plans and learning lessons, and the same can be updated. So this is something which I feel what is needed right now is more of a commitment. The other thing which is very important is that when we talk about learning management systems, when we talk about assessments, when we talk about evaluations, today somehow the way we try to communicate it to an educator, we again give him an impression that it is going to increase your book. So I very strongly feel that ICT, which can enable teachers, which can enable professors, which can enable educators, as on today has a barrier for 2 or 3 main reasons. Number one, that it is not taken as an enabler. It is always taken as a challenge. It is always taken as an additional work. Just to give you another example, I go to engineering colleges and I say I have this software available with me. So how much it costs? So I go back and say, okay, if you use it, it's going to cost you about 4 lakhs per year. Immediately, it's too expensive. What are you talking about? The content is very, very expensive. Now, if you look at 2,000 hours of content available to you, 24/7, 365 days, in terms of a repository which you can use in your own way, it is basically adding one more faculty to your college. Yesterday's newspaper comes out very clearly that 90,000 engineering students sat for their first year engineering examination in Andhra, and 10% of them passed. And the reasons given for that, very clearly, look, our entrance exams were wrong. Anyone can go for engineering education as on today. Students are not given proper education. But I personally feel that today, when an engineering college goes and says that you come to me, you join me, and the first thing what you would get is a laptop, I would say at the same time it is a responsibility of educators or the policymakers also to equip their educators with a laptop, a training, and a learning management system. So, to be very honest in this whole regard, my submission is that all the educators here know exactly what is available to them. But only thing is that they have to find out on their own which is the most suitable medium, what is the most suitable hardware, and how does it enable them, how does it take out the repetitive work out of their daily lives, and how do they update themselves on a daily basis. That is very important. Just coming up to the stall, I asked my team members, I said, how many planets in the world? And there were multiple answers. Now suppose I am going to go tomorrow to give my lecture to somebody, it is my responsibility in today's world where information is instant, at least to go and click and see that how many planets are there in the world. 90% of the schools, the teachers even today say that there are 9 planets in the world. So what I'm saying is that with the help of technology, information is available to you instantly. Secondly, with the help of technology, you have to choose what hardware you need to choose. And technology can strengthen your life only once there is a willingness for that. Thank you very much.